Coming in, US President Donald Trump, he is to raise tariff on India. Donald Trump has posted India is not only buying massive amounts of Russian oil, they are then for much of that oil purchase selling it on the open market for big profit. They don't care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine, and because of this, I will be substantially raising the tariff paid by India to the United States of America. So he's upping the ante. I quickly want to now cut across to my colleague Pranay. Pranay is joining me for more. Pranay Upadhyay joins us for more on this big story. Pranay, bring us details, because India is not backing down. India has made one thing very clear: buying Russian oil. And in fact, Europe is buying a lot of that oil from India after we've refined it, isn't it? Pranay, bring us details.
Gaurav, this is a major escalation by the US President Donald Trump, because when he says that India is responsible for the death of Ukrainian people in Ukraine, in Russia-Ukraine war, this is really a massive thing, because India is the first country. India has always maintained that this conflict cannot be solved by war on the battlefield. Ye yuddha ka samay nahi hai. This is what Indian Prime Minister told both the Ukrainian president as well as the Russian president. India, at various forums, India has said this thing. But US President Donald Trump holding India responsible for this conflict, and also, accusing India for fueling the Russian economy. This is way too much, Gaurav, I would say, because if you see, China is the major buyer of Russian oil.
Yes.
And with China, there is a tariff truce. While on the other side, he is continuously escalating the tariff rates with India. So this is clearly he's trying to make it personal with India, and targeting India on tariff, on holding India accountable and responsible for what is happening in Russia-Ukraine conflict. This is really I would say bizarre, because
So
India,
what explains Donald Trump escalating it? Yes, he's a businessman. Yes, he wants a good deal, a trade deal. But there are elements even within the United States of America who say that he wants to bully India into submission, and that clearly is not happening. China bullied America back, put reciprocal tariffs on the United States of America. Is that the way forward? And are we now entering, perhaps for the next 3.5 years of Trump era, perhaps a freeze or a downside when it comes to India-US relations, very different from what was actually expected?
Absolutely right, Gaurav. This is a downwardly spiral of India-US of relations, because both sides, especially the Indian side, was careful about not engaging in a verbal volley with the US President Donald Trump. But if you see, he is trying to make it personal. He is taking it to social media, social media posts. And initially he posted this thing. Indian government of India did not react to it, but now he's trying to escalate it further by saying that India is responsible, and in a way, India is fueling the Russian war machinery and holding India accountable for the life losses in Ukraine, while he is not saying the similar things about China, which is the biggest buyer of Russian oil. And India has always explained to the US side that the oil purchase decisions are being made, as far as the India's energy security is concerned, are being made by the market forces, by the availability of the cheap Russian oil. And also India is adhering to the price cap put in place by the European players. So clearly, this is a targeted attack on India. Now we have to see that how government of India reacts to this thing, and if there is a further escalation, more than 25%, because he has indicated out of an additional penalty over and about this 25%, but he hasn't spelled it out. And the 7th August deadline is approaching, and before that, this social media post has come. So Gaurav, we have to be very mindful and very watchful about this thing, that what that penalty could be, because India has already...
And he knows this penalty is counterproductive. Yeah. It's being paid for by the American taxpayers. It's already having an adverse impact on the American markets, and yet he continues to do this, Pranay.
You're absolutely right. And if you see, this tariff war is already, hitting on the US consumers' pocket. The recent employment data clearly shows that these tariffs are not working. The July data said that the projection of 1 lakh or over 1 lakh jobs has not yielded the desired result, and only 73,000 jobs were created. And if you see the corrected data of May and June, this clearly shows that on an average in last quarter, only 35,000 jobs, Trump administration or his US economy could generate. This is a big marker, and especially the job losses have happened in the manufacturing sector, to which, the President Donald Trump has tried fueling the jobs. The entire objective of making these tariff announcements was only to fuel jobs or create more jobs in US economy, which is not happening. So clearly this is a time for reflection, for the Trump administration. But on the other side, if you see, the way he is, holding India accountable and targeting India, this is something really serious, especially, on these counts. The way India and US has been strategic partners, you don't expect a strategic partner to make these kind of remarks.
Absolutely.
In this
it
engagement.
took 25 years post-Pokhran to build this relationship, and both India and America invested heavily in this relationship. But it takes one Donald Trump to once again bring back all those suspicions. Can India trust the United States of America, especially when it comes to strategic ties in the field of defense? But we'll be tracking that story very, very closely.